first of all, can you tell me why you standing to become Copeland's next MP?
Copeland is currently struggling with extreme issues with its NHS consultation and with Whitehaven Academy and with the rapidly emerging issues to do with the nuclear industry. So it needs a very strong and experienced MP who can represent those issues and get them sorted out quickly.
So what exact experience do you have to become a Member of Parliament?
During the coalition government, I served for 3 years on the National Committee of the Liberal Democrats Education Association, working on education policy, learning how to influence policy and influence people in Westminster and get things done. I'm an experienced councillor and I'm already at the heart of the particular issues that we're dealing with the success regime and with Whitehaven Academy. I've got plenty of experience of consulting on nuclear issues, so I'm up and running and ready to go.
So what would be your top priorities for Copeland?
The top priorities would have to be nuclear, the NHS and education, but there are quite a few very substantial other priorities as well. There are rapidly emerging issues to do with the hard Brexit. Subsidies for farmers aren't guaranteed. Our businesses will face a lot of issues very quickly, so they need a strong MP who can understand those issues and get to grips with them and get them sorted out through policy. We've also got substantial issues associated with flooding that I'm keen to get on top of, and there are many more.
And you mentioned Brexit. If you were the Member of Parliament for Copeland right now, would you vote to trigger Article 50?
I would not vote to trigger Article 50 unless we had a guarantee of a second referendum on the deal that was being proposed.
But 62% of constituents in Copeland did vote to leave. Do you not think it would be a bit of a smack in the teeth then if you were become the Member of Parliament and you disagreed with them on what is the most fundamental issue of the day?
I would agree that 62% of people in Copeland Borough voted not to stay. They were not happy with the EU. They were frustrated with inefficiencies with the EU and with some of the bureaucracy and how difficult it is to get things changed. They want our country run well. But listening to people on the streets, very few of those people wanted a hard Brexit. I know that there are a small number of people who do believe that if you get rid of all the systems and processes we use to run society and all the experts, then things will miraculously improve, Michael Gove-style politics. They're not my politics, and I disagree with those politics, but they certainly don't represent the majority of views here.
Now let's move on now to one of the other big issues of this by-election, which is healthcare and the West Cumberland Hospital. What would you do to try and fix or address, at the very least, the issues that hospital faces right now?
So the main issues we're facing at West Cumberland hospitals is the issue with staffing paediatrics. We're suffering from a shortage of consultant paediatricians. And that's been identified by the regulator, the CQC, and it's who have said that those issues need to be resolved very quickly. And that's been at the heart of the success regime consultation. And it's why we're looking at losing obstetric services, because the only way people can see to resolve the staffing issue with paediatrics is to close it. And if you close paediatrics, you have to close obstetrics, which will be a disaster for West Cumbria. So there are two key influencing parties here. One is the regulator, and the likely closure of services here is an unintended consequence of their directives. So I've been challenging the regulator. I've written to them. I've got the support of Sue Hayman MP and of Mike Starkey, the Mayor of Allerdale, and of Voice for West Cumbria Healthcare. And I've now got a meeting with the regulator to challenge what they're doing and try and get them to map out a way forward for North Cumbria University Hospitals Trust, which will enable them to come out of special measures without closing of paediatric and therefore obstetric care in West Cumberland Hospital. There's also a strong influence coming from NHS England, and I've been challenging them by presenting a full risk assessment of the proposed closure. And they've now written a report saying that it is safe to travel up to 4 hours in labour, which is clearly ludicrous. So we're challenging that as strongly as we possibly can to make it clear that obstetric services in Whitehaven should stay open.
Let's move on to nuclear power now, and obviously Sellafield employ thousands of people in the area. Are the Liberal Democrats in favour of nuclear power?
Yes, they are. We are totally committed to our carbon targets by 2050, we want to see an 80% reduction in CO2 emissions in the UK. And the only way that we can deliver that effectively is with nuclear fuel.
And although it does employ
Nuclear energy.
thousands of people, that there are many people in Copeland who don't work in the nuclear industry, and that they feel that the industry has dominated all of the jobs in the area. What would you say to those people who haven't felt the benefits of the nuclear industry in Copeland?
That's absolutely true. There are people across West Cumbria in all positions who understand that issue and are working really hard to look at how we can restructure the economy of West Cumbria to make sure that everybody benefits from the economic prosperity we have from the nuclear industry. And I'm really keen to support those initiatives.
You seem to be very opposed to what this Conservative government are doing. But in the
Yes.
last general election, the Liberal Democrats were miles off the pace in terms of where Labour and Conservatives were in this constituency. Do you not think that a progressive alliance, which has been done in previous by-elections, where the Liberal Democrats stand aside and let Labour try and beat Conservatives, would have been better in this particular by-election?
So we looked at the numbers, and the Labour Party vote has crumbled. And the Conservatives are the favourites for Copeland, and there doesn't seem to be any way that the Labour Party can mount an effective opposition to that. We looked at their emerging candidates to see if there was a really strong candidate coming through who could unite the party in West Cumbria, the Labour Party, and the voters in West Cumbria. And it was pretty clear early on that they wouldn't be able to field such a candidate. So it's essential that we stood. We can win this if we get the same kind of vote swing that we got in Richmond Park. Sarah Olney, who won there, when she stood, she wasn't known. She was new to politics. I am well known here. I've been on the newspapers, on the radio, on the telly for months already for my campaigning work on the success regime, and I'm well known for my work in education across West Cumbria. So we stand a real chance here. I hate Tory policy on the NHS and education. It's really disturbing to see what it's doing in West Cumbria at the minute, and I want to make sure that we don't get a Tory MP here.